Hello computer gamers, this is Andrew bringing you another episode, number 10 of From Dota to League. So here we are, we going over Karma today, show you guys some things about her. Karma is a very cool champion because she starts the game with her ultimate. Yeah, she's got 4 levels to her ultimate, which makes her quite unique among champions in League of Legends. So she gets her first level of her ultimate at level 0. In other words, at level 1 you are able to learn either QWE. Yeah, I don't know why they call those that. I mean, I don't use QWE, I use FGHJ, but hey, that's me. Anyways, moving on. So yeah, her ultimate, you can kind of think of it as her second basic ability, I guess, whatever. It's actually got a pretty lengthy cooldown. Anyway, let's look at her basic ability first. So she actually has her basic ability buffing her ultimate. Yay! So it actually makes it easier for her to have a lower cooldown on her ultimate. So the bottom line is actually she has to be affecting champions. So anytime she's damaging the champion with one of her abilities, then it will reduce the ultimate. Although she can also damage champions with basic attacks to reduce the cooldown as well. It's just 50% of the value. Now I'm not really sure what the value is. I haven't been playing her all that much, but I have been playing her jungle, and I don't really fight champions in the jungle very much, as you might imagine, so I haven't really seen the basic ability be all that useful for me for the most part. But yeah, whatever. The main thing is, the more she fights, the more she's able to keep on fighting, I guess, is the bottom line. So, her first ability is an attack ability. So, it's a line skill shot, I want to say. But she just throws it, and then bam, it just blows up, kind of like a bazooka or whatever from Jinx. It's kind of like that. Which we'll get into what Jinx is like later, but okay, let's just watch the video and see what it looks like. So yeah. I guess they felt like they needed to show you what it looks like if you cast your ultimate before you cast it. So if you cast your ultimate, the next spell you cast, it's going to be amplified. So that second snippet of the video, or whatever you want to call that, that was how it looks when it's boosted, basically, by our ultimate. So that's pretty cool. Basically does extra damage. And of course it's hitting an area around you, so it's lots of fun. Now her second ability is great too. For jungling though, I don't learn it, but it's still kind of nice. Now she I don't know why it says increase. Well, whatever. Oh no, yeah, I get it. So her ultimate will make her heal herself. See, look at that. It makes them lose damage. When you have your ultimate, it's kind of like a life drain, but it's not exactly like a life drain. It just kind of heals her while it's doing it, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, all of her abilities scale and ability power. The QW and E, they each scale on the ability power, so keep that in mind. It'll make her stronger having that. At the same time though, bear in mind that her ability power scaling, it's very low. The percentage is, I don't think any of her abilities have even as much as 50%. I could be wrong, but at any rate, they are pretty low and not all that great. So I wouldn't put too much gold into ability power boosting items, really, honestly. But she definitely does a lot of magic damage, so keep that in mind. Now moving on, her third ability. This is a really nice one because it allows her to absorb damage, it gives her a shield, also increases movement speed, so that's pretty handy. And apparently if she uses her ultimate before she casts it, then it will buff up the allies as well as damaging enemies, so that's pretty cool. Let's watch this video.
Only a change, so must I. Diana Kirivi. Peace.
So as you can see in that second clip, the first cast was obviously her using her ultimate, which, doesn't really look like much. And then as she gets in range of those two units, then she activates the third ability. And so, once again, this ability, other than its initial flashiness, doesn't really do a whole lot. But, it's nice if you are jungling with her, then it gives her a lot of sustainability, and so it's pretty cool. And it also helps her to get from one location to the next. Giving her that extra movement speed is pretty nice. And then so her ultimate, once again, she gets it at level 1, it doesn't require a skill point, blah blah. So basically she's already learned it at level 0. So, yeah. What I would recommend for items for her, let's see, let's just take a look at what I got for her in my last match with her. We'll have to view the full match history. I guess we can't do that then. But let's go through the items. I'll show you some stuff. So, what I did is, I think you kind of need the Ranger's Trailblazer first off, because otherwise you're just not going to have enough sustain, unfortunately. Yeah, and then I will upgrade it to the Devourer, just because you really want more attack speed so that you can clear the waves faster. And then I will follow up with a Runan's Hurricane, because that will allow me to apply, this magic damage on hit to multiple units. So I end up getting even more attack speed. And then I'm not really sure what I was buying after that. But at any rate, it ended up resulting in like a 6-0 3-game, I believe. So yeah, 6 kills, 0 deaths, 3 assists. But that was in the Nemesis draft, so a lot of people were playing, champions that maybe they weren't very good at. Who knows? So yeah, whatever. That's that. Now, I mean, there's not much else to say about her. Honestly, I don't really have that much experience with her, but she's pretty fun. I think most people don't really play her in the jungle, but it worked out pretty good for me. Honestly, it wasn't that bad as long as you get those purple items. And yeah, it's fine. Now, moving on to the next champion, Kalista. This is actually a 6300 IP champ, and I did go ahead and purchase her. I kind of should have gotten more experience with her, before I purchased her, but at the same time, I just know I really like her a lot. If for no other reason, then she's a really good ally for Rammus, which is a champion that I've owned since forever, obviously, since the day of the King skin. So, here's the thing. Kalista is champion that relies a bit on her ally, but not a whole lot. So her ultimate is basically unusable without the ally that she's binded at the beginning of the game. So she does actually get an item in her inventory that it's a consumable. She uses it on one of her allies, and that ally will become soulbound, which means they will be helping her do her moves. So her ultimate will be unusable without that ally being close enough for her to activate it. And that when she activates it, let's check that out. Let's see. So it makes the ally invulnerable, pulls them to her, and then the ally is able to jump out. And then what happens is they bounce into the group of units that they clicked at that location, and then they bounce backward a little bit. So I guess in this case she targeted Zed, so she just bounced right off of Zed there. So yeah, pretty cool stuff. Ended up being a minor disable for all those units. And it kind of pushes them away from Kalista, so if she's in trouble, it can be a defensive way for her to stay alive. And I guess it could be nice for getting her to initiate, I don't know. Some people say that it's not really all that useful if you are thrown in ranged into them. for initiating and is better for escaping. They might be right about that, because it might very well be moving Kalista at a different location. So keep that in mind. If you are throwing like a ranged champion, like I don't know, like a Corki, for example, into the group, then your Kalista will be relocated further away from the group, it seems to be. So rather than if you were to throw like a Tark, for example, into the group. So yeah. Now, as for her other abilities, her basic ability is like the most controversial one here. So let's check it out. Let's see what the video shows us. I already know pretty much a lot about it, but there's some things I probably don't know as much. We're going to check out the tips really quick just to confirm what I think I know. Never mind, let's go to the tips right now. Okay, blah 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 blah. So she's pretty reliant on attack speed, it looks like. So the more attack speed she builds, the easier it is for her to jump around. Keep that in mind. That means items like Blade of the Rune King and even Runans are pretty good on her. I probably wouldn't recommend Runans on her though. But Blade of the Rune King is definitely a solid choice. And Phantom Dancer is nice, and there's a bunch of other good items you can get on her. So, if you wanted to move around faster, if you wanted to, you just build more and more attack speed, and you will be attacking faster. I mean, you'll be moving around faster, because you're jumping off of a bunch of stuff. But like, if you're trying to jump off of minions, yeah, you get a Runans, and then you can clear all your minions. You won't have anything to jump off of, right? So it's up to you. Do you want to be like a team fighter? So that's why I had a couple different builds set up in mind for her, and I might be editing these, or I might be adding extra ones, I don't know. But for now, this is kind of what I'm rolling with. Oh wait a minute, I have like 3 different sections here, don't I? I don't know. I just wanted to throw as many items out there on the table as I can. So Runans might work out. I guess you could throw it in with these other items. I think maybe the Berserker's Greaves is really handy just because it gives so much extra attack speed. I like this one because it you might get locked down by some kind of single target disable. If that happens, you might want to use Mercurial Scepter, might be able to get you out of that problem. Then again, maybe it won't help, but yeah, it should be a pretty handy item generally. And with all that attack damage, it scales with your abilities that are scaling off of attack damage. I mean, it provides that scaling for those abilities that they need. You don't have any ability power items that you could buy that would help any of your skills, so keep that in mind. Although there is one skill that does magic damage, so if you had anything that reduced their magic resist, that could be viable. Like this, for example, theoretically it could be helpful just because it ignores 35% of the magic resist. But I really don't think it's a good idea, because you would rather get, if you really wanted to eat into their magic resist, you get Wit's End, which gives you lots of attack speed, and then also deals some extra magic damage, and then stealing magic resist from the targets, which gives you some magic resist. So I think that's probably a much better route to go. So actually, I'm not sure why I don't have this in this item builds for her. Let's just throw that in there as an extra item, because yeah, it's viable. She really needs attack speed, and I'll definitely be editing these builds a bit later, because I'm sure they're not very good. But anyway, moving on. I just went over her ultimate, or basic, and there's a lot more to her than just those 2 abilities. So let's go back to her and take a look at the others. So her first one is like some kind of skill shot, and it combos with her 3rd ability. So let's go to her 3rd ability first. Now, she does regular attacks, and it just piles up like these spears in the target, and then she can rip them out. So it doesn't have to be 3 of them. It could be as many as now, if you just do 1 and your rend is only like at level 1, I don't think it's going to do that much damage as you showed to the creeps there. But that was definitely a higher level rend. I'm not sure what level it was, probably 5 or so. But at any rate, the higher her level, the more each stack will do. So the more spears you get into the target, the more damage it's going to do. Although it is escalating, there's no exponential increase, unfortunately. So it's a little bit different than, like, say, Bristleback's quills. It's not as strong, but it's still quite good. The more attack damage you have, the stronger it'll be. But more importantly, the higher you level up, at least early on, the more damage it'll do. And then, so her first ability allows her to actually it transfers the spears from one target to a target behind it. So let's see if it shows that or not. It probably does. Okay, maybe it's not going to show that. But yeah, if there were already spears on this target and she throws that first ability, those spears will transfer over to a target behind it. So people have used that to quickly I guess they say execute, assassinate. So if she was, what people do is they go to the toad, which only rarely chases you around. Anyways, I'm not sure how you make it chase you around, but they figure out a way to make it do that, and so it chases you around, and it's healing because it's got the leash heal thing. Like, I don't know what you call that, like the fly eating protection, or they heal up somehow, and so you're able to keep on stacking all these spears on the toad or whatever. If somebody comes along and tries to find you in the jungle because they're like, where the hell is this Kalista? I'm trying to figure out where she is, and they find you over by the toad. If they're standing behind the toad where you're at, then you can actually just, and of course, with your basic you can move into position. You throw your first ability at the toad. If it can go past them to them behind the toad, it'll stack all those spears on them, and then you just activate your third ability, and all those spears, it's going to do damage to both the toad and the guy behind it. So it's pretty interesting. I don't know why they don't put it in the tooltip, but it is there. And then her second ability is pretty exciting. By the way, also something that may not be in the tooltip, I think your third ability, I think you can put extra spears on the target if your linked ally is attacking the target. I could be wrong, but I think that's an additional benefit from having a linked ally, other than just the ultimate so far. Now, and then there's one more. If I could be wrong about the rend, then that's fine. But I'm not wrong about the second ability and what it does. So for her second ability, it's got 2 parts. So it's got a passive and an active. The active does not require her linked ally to help out with it, but the active is not really particularly useful. I will say it might give a good reason for her to get like a red or a blue trinket, I guess, rather than a yellow one, because I guess this could substitute for a yellow trinket. But anyways, whatever. So it's a scouting unit. It's kind of like, and you don't really have control over it, but you can send it to a location and it'll kind of go back and forth between your location and that location, pretty much, is the gist of it. So nothing really all that special. But the passive is the most strong part about the ability. So as you can see, if you can make the sentinel, like if you're chasing somebody, yeah, the sentinel can give you vision on that unit, but unfortunately it only has 2 health points, and each time you attack it, no matter how much damage you have, you're dealing that 1 damage. So it's going to die in just 2 hits is the bottom line. So it's pretty darn squishy for a scouting unit, which I guess is fine, but it really doesn't move very fast or go very far, unfortunately. But it can still be useful for chasing, especially if you're up against opponents that don't attack very fast, or especially if they're melee, because then they have to actually walk right up to the little guy, which I guess wouldn't be very hard if you're hunting anyway, because you'll be following him. But the point is, that's time that they could be spending attacking you or running away, using it to attack the sentinel. So in the right situation, it could be pretty helpful, I suppose. Especially if you're not jungling with her, which I would imagine you probably wouldn't be. Yeah. So anyways, the passive with her ability is doing a percentage damage, which as you level it up, the percentage does increase. I believe it's like 2% at each extra level. So I think it's like 12, 14, 16, 18, 20. So that's a lot of damage of the maximum health of the target. So as you can imagine, if they have like 1,000 health and you're doing 20% damage, that's a lot. 10% is just 100, right? So 20% is 200, which is yeah, if they have 190 HP, they're dead, right? Pretty sweet stuff. Although of course, they can buy magic resistance, and if they do, that'll reduce the damage that just the single ability that you have does to them. So people have to be careful. Now, the thing is, it has basically a cooldown of 6 seconds. So she can only cast this every 6 seconds, and I don't believe CDR helps with that, although I could be wrong. So, but anyways, your linked ally has to be attacking the same target as you. So if either you or the other guy attacks the same target, so I guess it takes 2 attacks to activate it, I guess is the bottom line. And then, and I'm not sure how long the duration is, how long it waits before the next person attacks. So that's something that's a bit curious. But anyways, like every 6 seconds, bam, another huge chunk of the HP gone. Unless they have, quite a bit of magic resist. So that is really fun interaction for her. It ensures, that it's not too easy to itemize against her. But, if you are building the magic resist, you're going to have to worry about, her first ability and her third if she stacks too many spears on you, basically, and hits you with her skill shot too often, that kind of thing, or just is glued to you, way too much. Then maybe magic resist, if those things are happening, is not gonna help you as much as armor would. So in that case, I think a lot of the time armor is fine, but you have to be able to either escape from her, which is probably unlikely, or kill her, or even just her linked ally, which shouldn't be too difficult. I mean, you have a choice, kill her or a linked ally, within a reasonable time span to prevent her from proccing her magic damage on you too many times. And if you do have a lot of armor, it shouldn't be that difficult to take her down, I feel like high armor champions really counter her really well, rather than high magic resist champions. So, but, all things considered, she obviously can buy armor penetration. So, although it can be relatively easy to itemize against her, it's not like her situation is hopeless, right? She could still do some damage. So it's nothing too much to worry about, honestly. And if it really comes down to it, and she wants to rely on her second ability to do magic damage, she can buy stuff like Wits End, like I said. Seems like it would be cool. And with that extra attack speed, she'll be jumping around more. It's harder to catch her, and she should survive long enough to be able to get more of those magic damage instances in. The only trouble is making sure her linked ally can do something similar. Some way to stay alive long enough to keep getting those attacks in, I guess, is the bottom line. So for them, that might mean that they might have to build very tanky. They might have to get a lot of magic resist and or armor, or maybe just a lot of health, who knows. But whatever the case, they have to be sticking around so you can actually get that magic damage off, if that were your strategy, that is, to not build the armor penetration. I mean, that's up to you. Overall, I think she's a pretty fun champion, and I think it's reasonable. I don't know why people are crying about her, but it's just, you know, the mobility. Everyone thinks way too highly of, like, Flash, I guess. It's like the most popular summoner spell. And, you know, the main reason I think that the Flash is good for the pros is because the pros are really good at just bursting people down by just grouping up. And when somebody groups up against you, I guess people call that like a gank or whatever. I guess that's the Chinese word for rape. But anyways, that's messy, right? So you want to get out of there as fast as possible. The best way to do that is just to flash right out. And so that's why people like Flash so much, because of the grouping up thing that the pros do so much. And so I can understand it being very popular in the pro scene. I wouldn't say it's a necessary thing, but depending on your team's style, it could very well be. Anyways, wow. So Jinx, she's just like so simple. So her basic, she moves really fast if she gets a champion or tower inhibitor kill. So it's insane. She's like, I don't know how to explain it, but like I think it's like almost 300% increased movement speed. So that's cool. It makes it really easy for her to get kill after kill after kill in a team fight. So keep that in mind. Now her first ability is fantastic because it alters her basic attacks. So it's a toggle, and as you level it up, the benefits increase. So and I could be wrong, but I think maybe only the minigun scales with the level. Or no, actually, no, the big one does too. So the big one increases damage percentage. So it starts off at like 110%, I believe, and then increases probably by another 10% every level or something like that. So maybe like 160% at level 5. I'm not too sure about the numbers. And then the attack speed also increases a lot. And if you attack enough times, then she attacks faster and faster and faster. So it's really, really good for her for lifesteal, for her small gun, that is, because she attacks so fast. And then her big one's just great, and just in general for team fights. Yeah, pretty great stuff. Now, interestingly enough, the big ones that hit in an area, they actually, it's a mana drain apparently. So I didn't even realize that. That's very cool. And then she's got this really long range slow, and it does damage during the whole wave, but only the first unit getting hit gets slowed, and it also gets tracked too if it wasn't stealthed. So in other words, she can damage stealth units with this, but she can't actually track them. But she can track units that aren't stealthed. Now I'm not sure if that means that you can go stealth afterwards or not and not be revealed. You probably can, but who knows. Third ability is really great defense. She ensnares targets, and it's just fabulous. But it's, you know, it's not too reliable. People can walk around it, but you know, whatever. It's fun. And it does quite a bit of damage, which I do believe scales with ability power. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I do believe it does. And then her ultimate does not, though. It's all attack damage, and it's very basic. It's basically Ash's arrow, but instead of it exploding on the first unit it hits, in champion. Oh, no, I got it wrong. Well, it's kind of the same thing, but it does more damage the more it travels. So that's the significant difference between it and Ash. So point blank range, in other words, it's kind of pathetic. So keep that in mind. So she's pretty nice though, because you know, you get a kill and you chase someone around. You could potentially run backwards, you know, with your get excited basic, and then get extra damage with your ultimate. So she could be a lot of fun. You can play some really fun tricks with that ultimate, I could imagine. So I'm really excited to buy her eventually once I'm done buying my current list of champions, because there's so many good ones, and you know, she just looks like she's a lot of fun. So that's this episode. Next week, I gotta get going, so I'll tell you what we're going by. I mean tomorrow. Yeah, tomorrow, episode 11. I'll figure it out next episode. All right. Talk to you guys later. I gotta go.